Friends, Brian Fanzo, iSocial Fans here, and we're going to record a little episode of NFT 365. And this episode is going to be, kind of focused on, well, not kind of. We're going to answer 11 of the questions that I've received from you, the listeners, either from the Facebook group or the Discord server, or for those over on Twitter. And originally I was going to do just a couple, at the end of an episode, but these questions are so good that I'm going to jump into it right away. So let's not waste any more time, and we're going to jump right into it. So the first question we have, and I will tell you the questions kind of range from harder to a little bit easier at the end here. So kind of bear with me. So the first question was, who maintains and runs blockchain computer network, and how does it scale? And I think the idea that, the blockchain is built, and, there's multiple blockchains, and they're built through, multiple computers that are solving complex computer problems. And really the scalability issues of blockchain come into the speed, actually more so than anything else. The transaction speed of blockchain, it can be very slow, can be painstakingly slow, and really depending on the blockchain's use case or why it was built for, will really kind of oftentimes determines the speed that a blockchain might be working with. And so, some of the things that they're working on with that is some of the, the technology where they're being able to not only, hopefully integrate some cross-chain offerings, but also, it's really important for us to identify which blockchains make sense for which type of use cases, right? There's a reason right now that NFTs aren't traded on blockchain for the most part. There's a couple people that are, but there's a reason that is there, right? And there's also a reason that we pay heavy gas fees on Ethereum versus paying paying a little bit less over on Solana. And I'll kind of address that a little bit down the road. But one of the things that we have to think about from a blockchain perspective is it's not an easy button. And there are going to be plenty of new, variables and questions and things that arise. But it is a shift completely in kind of the backbone or what runs the internet. So love that question. Great one to start off with. And of course, we didn't get any easier with question number 2. Question number 2 is, how will quantum computing affect the blockchain? And I think this is an interesting one because there is this concept of quantum blockchain, which is kind of the merging of quantum computing and blockchain technology. One of the things that you want to think about in a quantum computing, use case is really, encryption, and how we think about encryption, not only the speed of encryption, but the use cases of encryption across, everything that we do, all the different, ways that we leverage the internet and ways that we leverage, well, especially blockchain, more so than anything else. And so we're going to see kind of a shift where we're going to be able to encrypt and hopefully, with that being said, encrypt and also transfer things in ways that we probably had never really thought were possible. The other piece of this where quantum computing is really going to impact blockchain is really how do we enable kind of the transformation into blockchain, as well as powering the metaverse from everything from what is the sequence of events that we are building on the blockchain, and kind of how those things kind of push forward. And so I'm not a quantum computing expert, but I do think there are elements of security that probably will be vulnerable at the beginning, right? Because with these quantum computing technology, it's going to be able to, in many cases, solve complex problems or decrypt things at a faster rate. But there's also the ability for us to leverage that on the positive side as well. And so, yes, there's probably a hacking vulnerability or two or so in there, but definitely something to think about is when the two merge, what we're going to make possible there is probably stuff we haven't even thought about. All right, number 3, I promise they get easier from this. What is needed to get crypto and NFTs out of the early adopter phase? And Lubina submitted this question. And I love this question because I don't think it's actually as much about getting out of the early adopter phase. It's rather, how do we empower the early adopter phase so that the use cases and the education become more natural and integrated in our day-to-day life? And what I mean by that is I actually think education is the biggest limitation right now. Not only education, like the podcast that we're doing here, and what we're doing in the Discord and on our Facebook group, but also education from a standpoint of not just educating consumers, but educating, the developers and those that are designing, technology and innovation today. Also, how do we really simplify the language, right? Like we talk a lot about blockchain right now. I mean, the first two questions were about blockchain, but very soon where the internet exists or how it works will be something that most people will not care about or even need to know. And that's kind of always been the trend, right? We have to use certain things to label or construct around them. But ultimately, for the everyday person, they don't care how it works. They just need to know it works and what problems it solves and how they can get involved. And so I think that's a big one. I also think the spread of misinformation around crypto and NFTs is a big one. And probably the biggest hurdle for NFTs, crypto, let's just say the entire Web3 space, is change. There are a lot of things that have been systematically in place in our government, in our financial system, in our healthcare, in the way that we think about, transactions. A lot of these things have been really built, into our native world, and so many services and people have been able to be empowered and get rich by doing things the other way. And so there's a lot of people, including regulators, right? Like if you're paying attention to a lot of the hearings that are going on right now, we do believe that there has to be some sort of regulation. But the interesting thing is a lot of the lawmakers are trying to imply or apply certain, restraints or protocols or systems that they don't even currently deploy in our current financial system or in our current internet. And so it's very odd that, Congress, especially Congress and those that are here in Washington, D.C., where I live, there's a lot of pushback to add these other layers that have not been added to what is existing today. And in the most case, that is, we're either, in my opinion, there's two cases here. We're either afraid of change because we're not sure what it's going to do for our job, or change scares us so much that we would rather try to break down the change, spread misinformation, block things from happening so that we don't have to adapt or adopt ourselves. And unfortunately, I think that's a rather big use case here. All right, number 4. I read that Web 3 and Web 3.0 are different things. Is that true? So there is some of this narrative kind of being introduced around, I'd say between thought leaders and those that are, in this space. The Web 3.0 concept is really a decentralized world or a decentralized internet with, powered through kind of crypto decentralized. Web 3, which is what a lot of people are talking about, is this kind of hybrid model, right? Some people are calling it Web 2.5, and it's this idea where we want to move into decentralized concepts, but we love centralized features and functionalities. And so we kind of are in this hybrid spot where, how do we allow technology that and user interface and design to give us the experience that we're used to, but also take advantage of Web 3. And a great example of that is something like OpenSea, which is the most popular NFT marketplace. And it technically is leveraging Web 3.0, but it is not a decentralized organization or company. And most recently, when they hired their new CFO, they got a lot of backlash because their new CFO said, "Hey, we'd be dumb if we didn't, look at the idea of going public." And I mean, let's be real. If a company in Web 3 has to go public to survive, they haven't embraced what Web 3 is ultimately leveraging, right? And they're no better than where we've been in the past, because Web 3 is about decentralization where everyone that is participating has ownership. And if we all have ownership, therefore we are all, have stake in the game, we're all having use case in the game. The need for us to go public, on NASDAQ or to Wall Street is really obsolete if a company and business is built in a way that is truly Web 3. And I will tell you, OpenSea got a lot of backlash on that, and I think it's important for them to kind of look at that. But their competitor, one of their biggest competitors, which is coming out with their marketplace very soon, which is Coinbase NFT, they have the same problem, right? Coinbase NFT has a very similar problem to what OpenSea has. And I would argue a year from now, we might see a truly native Web 3.0 marketplace that completely disrupts both of those players, or it could be one of them kind of shifting their entire narrative. But, I think the important piece here is I'm not a huge fan on semantics or how we are individually labeling things. I would prefer us to focus on the mindset shifts around some of these concepts, right? The idea of going from fully centralized to a more decentralized opportunity. And really, even this idea of removing the boundaries around how we exchange value around like crypto and those kind of things as well. All right, number 5, where to store our NFTs and how to buy them easier. Well, to buy them easier, without question, a majority of NFTs right now are being hosted on Ethereum, and the marketplace for that is OpenSea, which I just referenced before. So I'm a big fan of OpenSea. I love, I think their marketplace they've done a really great job. You can look at the stats. You can also look at individuals' wallets to see what other people are investing in. You can see what are the trends over the last 24 hours. What is the volume of traffic? What is the current floor price? What is the activity against the floor price? So OpenSea is probably one of the better places out there. But honestly, Twitter is the best place to find and discover current NFTs and future NFTs. How, a lot of the beauty of NFTs is that there are a finite element of them. And it's important for those that hold NFTs to, talk about them, to bring them to light, because not only does that allow people to be aware of the project, but it also adds that like FOMO or that exclusivity element where people now discover the power of an NFT project and now want to buy in or be a part of it. And so that's where you buy them easier. And I would tell you, my process, and I shared this on an earlier episode, right? My process is pretty easy right now, right? I can move money from my bank into Coinbase into my MetaMask wallet, and I can purchase NFTs on a website, or I can purchase them through OpenSea. Now, where to store your NFTs? Now, I think this question is an interesting one, because I think where we're thinking about this is that your wallet is ultimately this place that NFTs are stored. But I think the real question is, how do I display my NFTs? And I believe there's a lot of innovation that's going to happen on the display front of NFTs. One of the ones that I like is oncyber.io. It allows you to put like kind of a 3D virtual marketplace, on the web for people to walk through kind of your gallery of NFTs. Or, your OpenSea collection. If you just search Fanzo, Fanzo over there on OpenSea, you should be able to pull up my OpenSea account, and you'll actually see that mine are displayed there on OpenSea. So if you're using Ethereum and using MetaMask wallet, or even a Rainbow wallet or a Trust wallet, OpenSea is the best place to kind of display them. Right now the easiest. All right, number 6. This is a funny one. What's up with stupid gas fees? So gas fees are what we pay for transactions, right? And the gas fees increase in price based on how much traffic is going on that current blockchain. So right now, and I mentioned earlier, right, the speed of the blockchain is currently our scalability issue. And because it's so slow, that you can actually pay more money for your transaction to increase the speed that your transaction closes. Now, I will tell you, I've lost some mints where they're selling out really quick, and I didn't put enough gas there. Right? I didn't ask to say, hey, I want to pay more money to increase the speed of this transaction. And because of that, by the time my transaction went to complete, all of them were already sold and I lost out. Now, I will tell you, this is an issue across the board. One of the things that we can deal with gas fees is writing smarter contracts that are built to require less gas fees. And so we're seeing that a lot with the ER721 contracts that are out there. The other part of this is really kind of looking at things like Ethereum version 2, right? We're going to see that version come out. We're also going to look at what are all the things that are factored in to an NFT, everything from metadata to properties to the software code itself. And how can we kind of streamline or format that in a way that doesn't require such a heavy transaction load? But I will say that the gas fees especially over the last 4 months, have been kind of ridiculous. I will tell you, if you're listening to this, right now in December of 2021, the gas fees are right now probably the best they've ever been. As Ethereum has gone down, traffic on the actual blockchain has gone down as well. So the fees have gone down. So I minted an NFT last night. I believe it was $41 as the gas fee, and I was expecting $120. So that's about 1/3 of what I was expecting. All right, number 7, different ways to create NFTs, pros and cons. So this is a fun one because I've been really wrapping my head around this right now because we're rolling out NFTs with this podcast, right? The Mint365 aspect. And there's different ways that you can roll them out from. You can do an open collection. You can do a limited edition. You can do an auction style or a Dutch auction where you are, people that are buying them early on are going to pay less fees. And then whoever waits till the last 1,000 is going to pay a higher fee. You can also do the reverse. We've seen that in a couple of the collections where they start off at a higher fee and then every 5 minutes the fee lowers. And of course, the idea is you want to time it at the right spot because you don't want to miss out on the opportunity, but you also don't want to overpay. Those are some of those varieties. The other idea of creating an NFT, I will tell you, it's very simple to do so. You can go to OpenSea.com or .io. You can go to Rarible. There's lots of websites that are helping you kind of mint an NFT or create an NFT. I think the more important factor of before you create an NFT, what you have to start asking yourself is who is your audience? What blockchain do I want to build my NFT on so that this is the blockchain that it will live on? And then, do I want to control the marketing? Do I want people to be able to just see mine in the marketplaces they're at and kind of go through those type of things? I will say there are other blockchains like Solana and Cardano that are right now, the costs are less to mint an NFT, but that's also because there's less traffic and less attention and less people on those blockchains. So just something to be aware of. It might seem a lot easier to do it on a blockchain that might have lower entry fees, but you are also going to get lower traffic and visibility. And in some cases, people that have never bought on that blockchain before, which might limit that, because I know a lot of my audience has said, Brian, I've never bought on Solana and I see that you're doing those kind of NFTs, but I have no interest there. So definitely something to factor in. Number 8, I like to understand more about the different utilities you can have with NFTs, such as art and what is the utility. And so this is a great one. So utility is really what are the other aspects other than the price or going up and down the actual value that you get when you actually buy this NFT or you mint the NFT. And a good example of this, Applebee's. A shout out to Applebee's. I've done some work with Applebee's over the years. Applebee's just launched an NFT, and when you bought the NFT, and it was a hamburger art that was actually created, I believe, by an artist in their community, that as soon as you got it, whoever owned that NFT, the original owner, got, I believe they received unlimited meals for a year, totaling $1,300 a month. That's utility, right? So by holding this NFT, the thing that you get for holding it is you get to eat at Applebee's for free, $1,300 a month. I mean, seems like a great bonus to me. My daughters love Applebee's. The other aspects of utility can be things like access to events, access to a Discord. It could be that you get maybe merchandise sent to you. It could be that you are permitted into offline events or parties or after parties. It could actually mean that one of the utilities could be that if you hold this NFT, you get future NFTs at a discount or for free. Like for our pass here, we have the Founders Pass, NFT Pass, which at the moment of recording, there's currently 11 of those available of the 22. If you hold that, not only do you get on the white list for an NFT that we're supporting in January, but you actually get a free NFT that'll be airdropped to you in February. You're also going to get 1% of the revenue that we generate from our sale of our project in November 11th, 2022. Those are all aspects of utility. I believe what's possible when it comes to utility can be just about anything, right? One of the projects that we minted for this experience was they're going to actually adopt cheetahs for everyone that is holding that NFT. So really those possibilities are endless. All right, number 9. I don't understand the appeal of auto-generated 10K PFP projects like Apes and Bubblegum Kids? Really, I understand this because I like this question, because I was there earlier this year. I was right where I was like, why are people buying these? Like, it's just like 10,000 randomly pieces of art. It's not even like some artist picked exactly this amazing collection. They put in a bunch of these things, code in there, and the code randomly spit out these images. And so the reason that these are valuable, or there's an appeal to it, well, first of all, there's a limited supply, right? So first, that immediately creates some exclusivity. The other aspect of it is because it is randomly generated, for the most part. Some projects have hacked that, but because it's randomly generated, there are also ways that you can factor in price and value based on the rarity level of it, right? So if you put in a bunch of the properties that you are going to have randomly generated, and let's say only one of the all 10,000 have a black hat on, all of the other ones have different colored hats. There's only one with that black hat. Well, now that is more of a rarity, right? And it has more of a reason to hold it. There's less of those available. But the answer to your question, there's twofold here. One, it's the utility that I mentioned on the last one, that people are buying much more so than the actual art, right? The art can be the case, but if the art helps us broadcast out to the world who we are and what we represent, now that's like another byproduct of it, right? And I will tell you, like, Bubblegum Kids is one you mentioned. I love that project. I think the art is really cool. They have an amazing community on Discord. It also kind of like just speaks to me, right? It has the hat and it has like the young looking kids, and it's kind of fun. And I will say, like, when I show that off, it does kind of represent a little bit of me. And I will say that's a big part of this, right? I think there's an episode I did here on the podcast about, I believe actually authenticity will increase as we lean into these NFTs as our profile photos. And part of the reason is look at the Playboy Bunny Rabbitar that is my PFP, right? I believe it actually represents me at a much larger level than just like a selfie of me online. So hopefully that answers your question. Number 10, isn't it a problem that minting NFTs is so expensive for small digital artists? Can we solve that? Now, minting an NFT can be very pricey, but it also is going to be determined by a lot of the other factors that we mentioned before around smart contracts, which blockchain you're actually minting it on. I will tell you, for Rally.io, which is our coin, ADHD coin, which powers this podcast, they allow us to mint NFTs for free as creators. I can mint as many as I want, and I can put them onto the blockchain for free. It's a perk and a benefit for those of us that have creator coins on the side chain. And so I believe we're going to see more of those kind of emerging. And I also like kind of the step up option for small digital artists, right? Maybe you were minting originally a small batch on a smaller blockchain that allows you to create at a lower cost. But then when you sell out of those, you can take some of the profit, and now you can mint them on maybe on Ethereum, that it's a more popular blockchain, and allowing you to kind of get more visibility. So kind of that step up, grow up is a big piece here in NFTs. All right, I promise this is the last one. Number 11, how can I best step up to support the community and also market the Mint365 NFTs? Well, first of all, thank you for the question. I promise the question was asked in our Facebook group. So yeah, check out our Facebook group. Just search NFT365 in Facebook, and it'll pop up. It'll say it's a pop-up group. You can just fill out the little questionnaire that's there and jump into our Facebook group. But what we're referring to is, we launched this weekend 2 NFTs to support the podcast as well as the Mint365 project. And so how can you best support the community? Well, I would say, first of all, it would be kind of being a part of the community, either on Discord or on our Facebook group. That's a big part of it. The other part of it is really sharing this podcast and talking about this podcast, because our goal with this podcast is educating the masses and bringing people along on this journey. I mean, it's going to be fun. I mean, who knows, 6 months from now, what are we going to be talking about? How is this whole thing going to kind of weigh itself out? And so for me, when I think about this idea of like, how can you support, you can leave a review here for the podcast. That would be a great way of doing it. When the reveal of the NFTs happens, so everyone that buys an NFT before December 22nd, on December 22nd, you're going to have airdropped into your account the actual NFT for this project. And it is amazing 3D animation art that Kevin on our team created. I mean, I worked with him back and forth for many weeks on designing this 3D animation and this art. It's going to have different components in it, right? There's going to be randomly generated some elements into the NFTs as well that we'll be able to do giveaways with, and we're going to be able to say, award people that have certain, components of that NFT. And so when we mint that NFT, we'd love for you guys to share it across social, talk about it from that standpoint. And really, for me, this is all about, it's education. I don't believe we have to convince people that they should be into NFTs or crypto or creator coins or the metaverse. But I do believe we have to help people approach it with an open mindset to what's possible. And so that's kind of like my soapbox. But yeah, anyone that's, if I would actually love, if everyone that's listening to this podcast, if you just told one friend about this, maybe this episode or this show, that would do amazing things for this podcast. We are going to bring on a couple sponsors that we have in the works as well in the very near future. So stay tuned for that. So that's what I got for you guys today. That was the 11 questions. Of course, you guys know I like the number 11 from our community, from our listeners. Keep bringing those questions in on the Discord, on Twitter, also in the Facebook group. I'll do more episodes like this if you guys liked it. As always, just tag me on any of the social channels. It is iSocialFans. And last but not least, we are super powered by the ADHD coin over on Rally. You go check that out at ADHDcoin.com. Anyone that's holding any ADHD coin, you're supporting this show. It's by holding the coins in your portfolio, it allows me to continue to deliver this show, because every person that buys the coin makes the total value of the coin go up, which ultimately benefits the entire community. So if you want to really benefit the community, jump in, grab yourself some ADHD coin. And remember, every Sunday, you need to log back in and take your rewards. You get rewards based on the percentage you're holding dropped into your account. They're dropped in as Rally rewards, and you just have to click on convert and convert those to ADHD coin, and then you'll be getting even more rewards the upcoming week. Till next time, my friends, make it a good one. Cheers.